Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Guess who's back? Black Knight 2, right? Just when you thought he'd go away forever, no, he's back. Okay, here's what I found so far. This is a nightmare, but I think I got a fix. You can't. All right, am I back? Hopefully, I get enough service around here to help you guys with this break fix. I'm doing this for you guys. Technically, this reel worked. Now I've got it totally destroyed. But I couldn't find a blown dryer. Girls destroyed it, I guess. So anyway, I was able to heat with my lighter, just get them hot enough to pop them out. And on the back side, yes, there are little holes. You'll need to take one of your crappie jigs or something with the very fine wire. I'm going to go ahead and do this way with this reel. I'm not going to show you the full process because we don't have enough time in this video. But I'm going to show you what I found out so far and what we're going to be doing. Hopefully I don't keep cutting out and you guys can get all of this and what I've figured out. I've gone into, I become a rocket scientist. So I figured out that this isn't too complicated. This is actually a pretty simple deal to work with, except for the fact that when you take it apart, and I put them in here just so I wouldn't lose them. I don't know if you guys will be able to see them. I'm going to barely open the lid. I don't want to lose them. This is like, look inside there. You see those two little bitty springs. Those, let me get them over here. See those springs right there? Those, especially for a man that's getting ready to turn 50 years old, are hard to see and work with. That's the only complicated part about this whole setup, really. So let me shut that before I lose them. Here's what we've done. And these magnets, man, these magnets get stronger and stronger the more you hook together. So what we need to do now, here's what I've done. I pulled them out. I've got some measurements. I've measured all this different stuff. This is a very cheap one, but these are plastic, so I don't have any issues with trying to keep it off that. So what all the bigger, the original Black Knight, the Aldebaran BFS, come with the 5 by 1.5, which are these. But all these little guys, the Black Knight and them come with the measurements I got are 4 by 1.5. So they're hard to tell because they still got a little bit of burnt plastic on them. So what you're dealing with, let me get one right here. So they're pretty thick. They don't look like they are, but they're pretty thick. I'll try to show you. So see there, we got 1.5 by, and my thing's a little off. I'm pretty sure that's 4 because there's a little bit of burnt plastic on there, like mentioned. So when I looked it up, I was looking up on my phone, and you could get these replacement ones, but I don't think the magnets are the issue. I think it's how they're placed in there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to re-glue these in, sticking out. And here's one I haven't messed with yet, and that's what I was going to show you. Look how flush. I'll try to show you. They glued these things in flush. That is the problem. So here we have holes. Now the trick is we got to get these 1.5s in, and we want at least we don't want to go, I don't think we want to go full 1 millimeter sticking out. We want to go at least halfway or a little further, and we want to get about, and I'll show you the easiest way to do it. Let me get this one to stick. And I'll also show you this reverse polarity thing, what I figured out on that. So it's pretty simple. You really want to start with the stack, and if you don't have any other, you want it to be nice to start with some other sort of magnet when you come to the end, and I'll explain that in a minute. But if you don't have a magnet, you can start with something else with your 4 magnets or whatever attached to, or if you take all 8 out at once. But you basically start like this, and here's how I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm just going to take one, you know, a little bit of super glue. Little bit of super glue goes a long way, just remember that. And I'm basically going to hold it out where I want, where I'm thinking is roughly halfway, and I'm going to have to let that dry. I know it's going to be painful, and that's why I'm not doing it right now. I'll do it. I'm probably not even doing it tonight. I'll probably do it tomorrow. And then once I'm done, I'm going to get this thing together tomorrow, and we'll try to do a little, probably try to do a little actual, like a live little casting test, see if it helped or not. So basically, I'm going to glue each one in, sticking out. I'm trying to get it off. You got to envision that the glue is already dry, so that will stay no matter how much magnetic force you put on it. So I'm going to want them to stick out. See that? Roughly, I don't want it to come out a millimeter. I want really a little less, just so there's no rubbing on the spool. So hang on, and I'll go into the, whoa, everything's sticking. I'll go into, you need more details on the process. You can't just go and glue them all, but not much further down than that is where I want them. Something like that right there. See that? No, you can't see it because the camera won't focus. I just want them sticking out about halfway, so not quite a millimeter, sticking out all the way. When you do all 8, I think we're going to have enough breaks then. And if not, we could always still leave this, but the goal is to do away with all the, we're just using the stock magnets the way they were intended to do, and what the, is considered the dynamic braking or the actual mechanism moving will be working. So let's jump into what I found out about all of the magnetic systems that I've tested that I have, and I'm pretty sure they're all like this. Way back when I was messing with Abu Garcia's, even these are like this. So here's what they are. You got to, and I recommend highly that you do it because they all are like this. So see, we're sticking to the first one. We're pushing away from the next one. We're sticking. We're pushing away. You see a pattern here? Whoa, get off. Give me my magnet back, you little dog. So yeah, the pattern is every other one, you got to flip the polarities around. That's how these systems, I guess, work. The eddy current, the thing. You know what I'm saying? It's rocket science. I don't know all the exact words. So we're going to jump to, this is the actual Shimano Aldebaran. Now, one thing I did notice about the Aldebaran and the original Black Knight, the first one is the same on both sides. So basically, let me show you like this. So if you can push away, like if you're holding this, use this exact magnet, and if it's wanting to push it away, not pull it, it's the same way on the first one over here. Now the lingle is the only one that's different. See how it's wanting to pull that one and push away that one. But then every other one is the opposite. See that? So I don't think that matters as far as if these are even with this 4. I think it's the, the ones that are close by each other, every other one, it needs to be the opposite way. And because in this one, the original Black Knight, they're both pushing away at the first ones that were to come up. And I'll show you by this way. See, that first magnet wants to pull on that. First magnet wants to pull on that. Same thing with the Aldebaran. So that's the way I'm going to do it, because that's the way majority of them are. But for whatever reason, the lingle is the opposite. One will pull and one won't. But I like the way this thing casts. So I'm gathering though that part doesn't matter, but what matters is on each individual little, I call it I guess a disc. So I'll show you on this one, which they had that right. I checked that before I pulled anything apart, and they have that part of it's right. It wants to push away from that one. It wants to stick, wants to push away, and it wants to stick. So they had them alternated right. They just, look how that is, like, it's so smooth. They cut the holes. They actually designed this wrong. This should be designed with almost a millimeter tops, and so when they're glued in, they're just like this one, which isn't even glued yet. So all of this whole nightmare of a process of heating it up, popping them out, doing it yourself in order, and somebody needs to, I don't know if I guess I should try to contact who you would tell that that part needs to be redone. I think, I don't know, we'll test it tomorrow. I think that'll solve the problem. So here's what, whoa, that one came right back out. Here's what I think I'm going to do though, because when I was looking up and I was seeing if I could find replacement ones, I did come across, and right on AliExpress, and they're real cheap, you can buy 4x1 millimeter. Okay, so here's my theory on that. Like, I don't want to buy 4x1.5, because if you try to stick on, and I already tried that, because these are 1.5. If you try to stick on 1.5, you know, kind of like when you buy a veil spool or whatever, a lot of times they'll give you, if it's a shallower spool, meaning bigger around, they'll give you other magnets. Oh, here, put these on, it fixes it. The problem is the one, I think even a 1 is too much, because this is already 1.5, and I'll show you how I come to that conclusion, and then we'll talk more on that. But so you take the inside of your spool, what you're working with, and you measure it, and you only got, it's 23, roughly 23.2, but it could be 23.5. Yeah, that's probably what it is. So it's probably 23. These aren't very, these came off AliExpress. They're not very, they were cheap, but they work. They get the job more or less done. So you basically don't even need a number there. You could just do this, and as long as this gives you the right deal, and I'll show you on, where did it go? Oh, that's it. Because I have it dismantled. So that gives you what you're working with, right? This thing here. So we got 23.5, we'll call it 23.5. When you tighten it up, so say when those are flush, oh, you guys can't see that. You got 22, we'll call it 22. So you only have technically 1.5 to deal with. The problem is that's on both sides. You got to split that in half. So really, let's say you only got what would that be? So you don't really have, wait a minute. Let me do the math. That was 23.5, you got 22. So we can only really go out like 0.5 millimeter on each side, if my calculations are right. Before, whoa, what was that? Oh, man, this is shocking around here. These little magnets, they'll just like sit and wiggle their way to each other. Crazy. So here's my theory. What I'm going to probably do on the other ones, I'm going to take, since these are 1.5, I'm going to buy some of the 4x1s. So when you put those together, that gives you 2, right? So therefore, you're going 1/2 on each side more. So what I can do, and I'm going to try to do it basically by taking magnets like this, or bigger magnet, and leaving it all together. I won't have to tear anything apart. I'm going to heat up the magnet, pop those magnets out, put them to the side. I'm going to take one of the, or 2 together at the same time, but I'm only gluing one in. I'm gluing the, putting just a touch of glue on the bottom, and I'm going to push the 1 millimeters in. So I'm going, instead of 1.5, I'll be at 2 millimeters. I'm pushing those all the way in. What that'll let me do is I'll be able to take off if I want to take out some. Does that make sense? Because this system isn't set up like the, and neither is the lingual, none of the Chinese ones versus the, in which it doesn't really matter because all the bearing, I leave them all in anyway, but that last magnet you can actually take out. Now they designed that way for a reason. I'm not sure exactly why, but to get that done, I'm sure there's a chunk of metal back there somewhere that magnet has to stick to, right? You can't just leave one of these loose, it'll fly out. There's nothing for it to stick to. So in theory, what I'm talking about doing with the two 1 millimeters as opposed to the 1.5 is it'll let me, first of all, get that extra gap. I'll be able to make the space that I need to touch, get closer, not touch, you don't want to touch, but get close enough that it's going to give me enough breaks. But there's a possibility it may give me too good of breaks. But if I have those two, instead of say 1 4x2 in there, it'll give me the option of taking some out, you know, maybe just one on the part that jumps up, maybe one on the part that doesn't jump up. That'd give me something to play with to kind of fine tune the braking. So that's probably what I'm going to do, or try it at least on one of the other ones, because this has been a nightmare. Then I'm going to show you, lastly, how to take one of these out. And magnets are magnets. It doesn't matter which order. And let me show you the order real quick, how I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to show you how to take one out. I'm going to show you how to put the piece back in, then we'll be done. If you need to review any of this video, because you want to try it yourself, you'll see the process, or how my mind was working, what I was thinking. So it's all a matter really of figuring out which one you want to start with. Now, if you want them to be even exactly like what the Shimano Aldebaran is and the original Black Knight 2 or the Lingle, because in my mind it's not going to matter, because I actually like the way the Lingle casts, so I don't think it really matters. But you would need to, you know, have them set up basically which one's which way to know which polarity. Whatever you start with first here, you need to start with first on the other one, if that makes sense. But it's real simple, and I'm going to start by showing you. So on the very first one, you can just start with whichever one you want. But let's say if you want, I guess that part really doesn't matter. So then the next one you go with, all right, I had this right in my head. Is as simple as you just go in the order they're in, if that makes sense. Because since this one would stick to that, you go right down the line, right? No, that's not right, because that'll stick to that, and that'll, no, wait, that's right. No, that ain't right. No, you go the opposite, that's right. So you put the first one down, then you've got to go to the opposite side. So say you've already, you held that long enough, that one glued. So then basically you got to reverse what you were just doing. And if you want to check yourself, I think this one should push against, right? So let me just see if I got myself right. So yeah. So you just reversed it, and then you'll need to glue that one down. So it will stick to that one, you know it will, because you just unstuck it, which means it won't stick to the next one. Does that make sense? So you went, and you could have them set up, if you got magnets like I do, you could actually have two on one side, two on the other, and basically be sitting there holding that, letting it glue. When it's done gluing, peel it off. Look at that, perfect. If it was really glued it. And I mean, I could do that and then it'll be gluing. So then I know I'm going to flip over. I'm going to glue in my next one. Flipped over. This is going to be a nightmare. Once you involve super glue, everything becomes a nightmare, trust me. So that's why I think I'm just going to take time and hold it, blow on it, whatever, get it where it's stuck before I move it. But then get off, let go of it. I'll do that and then alternate sides, which I should already had that done. Let's get this one up there. Get up there where you belong. So then I alternate. See how that does that? It's not trying to stick to that one. It's trying to stick to one of the side ones. So anyway, it flipped over on me. So those, see, that one's backwards, it flipped on me. That's why if you've got super glue, you don't want to mess with that. So we need to put, wait a minute. Yeah, that pushes, so we'll have to put one there. This will work. I'm telling you, once I get glue, and it's actually glued, you'll glue that, and you'll jump to the other side. Yeah, it'll work once I start gluing it, but you got to set and hold. You got to let that glue dry. And just alternate, get those done. And then if you're that worried about it, and you want the sides to match, then you'll need to take time when you go to the other side. But all magnets are the same. It's just a matter simple of flipping them around. They have the polarities like a positive and negative. So you want to reverse the polarities on every other one. That is the most important part. If you pull these out and you go to glue them back, or if you pull them out and you go to get the two 4x1s, you're basically going to be doing the same thing, except just imagine that these were thinner. You're going to be gluing two in at once. So the one, just the 1 millimeter one will sink all the way down. Now when you go to do that, or what I'm going to do when I do that, is I will have to make sure, because you're dealing with tight tolerances, you will then have to make sure that all this is cleaned out and they can go all the way and bottom out. Because the first one of the 4x1 will need to go and actually almost be countersunk in there, glued in, and all you're really using it for is to have a means to hold the other ones that are going to be up in range of the spool doing the actual work. Hopefully all that makes sense. So I'm going to try to show you. Now I took it apart once and put it back together. I just made sure I could do that before I went any further to see if I was already like screwed. So I'm not going to put both of them back on, but I'm going to show you real quick, try to show you through the screen how you do it. Now they're pretty simple. It's impossible to put them in wrong. One side has a lot bigger, see that, my camera, that goes down, so that's gonna go right there, and then see this where the spring goes is out here. So the hard part is getting that little spring. So this is simple. You basically, the longer one goes in, and how I did it was I did this little tilting motion and it popped right in. So I'm going to attempt for the second time ever of popping this one in, and I got to get one of these little springs. And there are the inner part in here, there's no keeper. Like there's a little, I don't know if you guys will be able to see that or not. See, there is a little keeper on that one. So that's where you got to put the spring. You got to get that spring on. Let me get these magnets out of the way, and I'm doing it with the magnet because the magnet will pull on the spring somewhat. So I'm going to try to show you here real quick. I just want one of these springs. If you guys go wrong, this is where you're going to go wrong. You're going to lose this spring. Oh boy, see how it stuck to that? So you got to be careful. This is the only actual hard part about this whole process. Is this little spring right here. See it? Take a good look at it, and we might have to report it lost. So I got these, my fingers are cold, all jacked up. All right, see that? It's on. So you got to get that spring on. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'll try to hold it up. Now what I did was I kind of went like at an angle. And it is very hard to try to show you through the camera. You do not want to lose the spring. You don't want to lose it. So we got it on. Now we just need to get that part in there. All right, look. See that? Simple. See? And that's how simple it is. It's so small. If it was bigger, like these bigger ones are probably a little bit easier to work with. So that's on there. That's on there, but I didn't put a spring on it. And so then it's as simple as just putting this back to on. You're just going to line up, there's the two holes straight across from each other, and then the bigger holes kind of cattywampus. Is that even a thing? Cattywampus? Anyway, you're going to line those up where that's popped on, and then just put the two screws back in, which are here. Put your two screws back in, and then check yourself. What you should end up with is both sides should still work like this, but what you should have is, if you did it right and you glued these, they should be sticking up more. They should be close to, and like this is off the original Black Knight. Look how high some of those are. Like, I'd almost swear that whoever did this kind of had a pattern of the ones that don't move are actually higher than the ones that do move more. You know, they all sort of move just a hair, but this outer part, or the first part, move more. And so you can see when they're, if you want to get that technical, see how that is when they're all the way up. You got full brake power, and then it drops down. This one still gives you brake power. So, and I think all that is they are, with that up, I don't know if you can make out how, but I think they're all about even on this thing. This one actually looks like it was done pretty good, pretty right. Let me set this down. The lingual, yeah, it looks the same way. You need, I don't have the capabilities to measure that for sure, but I'm guessing if these are 1.5s, that this thing only has like 0.5 millimeter glued inside. Maybe that's, I don't know. That looks like, see how much more, there's just so much sticking out on those. And then here's the Shimano. Now the Shimano, if anything, looks like it doesn't have, whoa! That's that one that comes out. Put it back in, make sure the end's sticking up. But this Shimano, it's the only good thing about a magnet. Once it pulls out, it's like, it didn't go anywhere. It's stuck to whatever tool you are using usually. But the Shimanos are, if anything, they're down a little more. They're a little more down than the lingual and the original Black Knight. So I think, in all honesty, look how flush those are. If you just get it sticking out, you know, if you get the you know, just, and I guess you could do it, I don't know if I'm going to do it that way or not. I'm thinking, like, would it may be better to put this thing all the way, you know, get all these out. I need to take these other ones out, put it all back together, because you can. Problem is, if you get one glued in wrong, or it sticks and it's sticking out too high, then you got to pull it all the way back apart. But I guess it would give you a little more judge to go by, is like, make sure, because you could always just stick something in. Where's that? Oh my gosh. These magnets just stick to everything. Because I guess you could, you know, stick something in there to have that stuck all the way out, and just try to make sure, you know, that they come up to even or just past that, which most of these others, I would call it, you want them, that lingual goes a long ways. I'd say it goes close to 1 millimeter past this thing, which you're not afforded the tolerances. If you remember right, the measurement I took here to the other one, you've only got about just over 1 millimeter. So if it was me, what I will probably end up doing is I'll try to get them just showing just showing on the outside of that, which would probably be, I guess we could stick one in and see, right? We'll go to this one because it doesn't move this side. I'll try to see if I can get one stuck in there. Get one to stick without putting glue on it. Oh my, just come here. Get here. Mess with these magnets. I'll be honest, I'm already tired of messing with magnets. But I'm going to do this one. Like I said, the other one, I think, oh my God, I think I'm going to do it apart. I was just trying to see if you could do it. No. I can't get it to stop long enough to stay in there. Yeah, I'm not doing it in there, but like I showed you before, I'm just going to try to get one sticking out. You know, I'm going to try to get all of them sticking out probably about half a millimeter probably, and go from there. All right, just over 30 minutes. If anybody has any questions. Rocky Pond Production says it's called Halbach array. It makes a stronger magnetic field. Yeah, when you do the opposite. I knew there was a fancy word for it. I know the only, I guess, experience or times I've been around watching magnetic stuff mess with aluminum, which technically isn't magnetic. Like in my mind, I didn't realize that magnets could affect, you know, non-magnetic material. But where I used to work at a recycling plant, we had an eddy current machine, and it boggled my mind. I'm like, how does eddy current machine get the aluminum and the rubber separated? Well, there's this belt going around and a magnet on the end, and there's what they call a hopper down below and a shakers and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, as this metal, non-magnetic metal that's come off, you know, all the magnetic metal has been pulled off by this huge magnet that pulls all of the magnetic stuff. So then you're left with all this basically trash other than the aluminum, what they call non-ferrous metals, right? Well, the eddy current, there's this other magnet, and right as that stuff's falling, it can either fall down into the trash, which then goes up another deal, and there's other ways they pull other different metals and stuff out that they don't want to send to the landfill. But what that magnet does, it makes that aluminum jump. It's the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. The aluminum literally jumps past where the dirt and trash and stuff's falling and lands on this other shaker table, and then shakes its way down, and it goes through another process. But I sat and watched that, and when you watch aluminum, something that a magnet won't stick to, it won't stick to a magnet, just it jumps, it creates this field that makes it do stuff. And that's basically the same thing that's happening as soon as you start spinning that spool. You know, once you get, I guess, metal objects moving around magnets that are in, like he talked about, in that magnetic field that's been created or whatever, that's how your braking works. I'll be honest, the very first time I saw magnets on a bait casting reel, I thought the spools had to have been metal or have some kind of metal in them in order for the magnets to do anything to them, before I realized like what happens there. So anyway, check with me tomorrow, guys. I'm done for the night. I'm probably just leave this thing alone tonight. But as I was getting out of here earlier today, I've got another issue with the Black Knight too. I'm trying to love this thing, but I got a love-hate relationship going with this reel. I took this off enough with the bearing remover that I no longer, or with the spool pin remover tool, that I no longer need it because this freaking thing does not stay in here right. And I think when I put it into the reel, I don't think it's going to fall out because I think the inside there, you guys probably can't make it out. I don't think it's going to fall out, but I think what happens is, and so I'm going to find a way, And it may just be as simple as taking a very small piece of something and shoving it in to where it forces, it's tight, or simply gluing it in, making sure the surfaces are clean, gluing it just to keep it there. Because one thing about super glue, when you put a little dab on like metal to metal, it's pretty easy to just pop loose if it even stays on for long. But anyway, I'll tell you what I had happen that I'm pretty sure was this causing it. I was fishing and noticed that when I was, I'd hit the button, and when I engaged the reel, it just, I felt something not, like it didn't feel as smooth. And then what I realized is if I could just jiggle the spool and it smoothed up. And I think what was happening is that being loose like it is was causing something in that gear just not to seat, not to settle in right. And I think it's something to do with this. And it may be as simple as this was popped out. And if you see, there's a bigger notch there, and that notch wasn't letting the gear, it was just bound up just enough, and you wiggle it and it just pops it back in. So anyway, I got to figure out a way to keep that up flush, or try to find another pin that fits just a little bit tighter that you actually have to use the tool to push in. So it shouldn't be too complicated, but I'm telling you guys, I'm running into complication after complication with this reel. Still haven't solved the problem with the fact that line gets through, and I don't know, you guys could comment on this as I get out of here. Is it as simple as taking, say, a hard, like lacquer? What pops in my mind, I got girls around all the time, like fingernail polish. Could you not just take a thin coat of fingernail polish around the inner part in here and the inner part right here? Just a thin coat and let it dry. I mean, I know you're like, oh, well, if that happens, then you put this in, then you got drag. Then what do? Well, I guess fingernail polish remover, I don't know. But surely there's a way, because in my mind, just a thin layer of some kind of paint, a hardened paint that wouldn't just fall off. But if there's no way, if there's no gap there, the line's not even going to start to go there anyway. So it wouldn't take much, because looking at it, the tolerances do not look bad, but I've seen 2, 4, and 6 pound line just jump right in there like it's nothing. 2 pound, like it's like not good at all. And these issues that I'm trying to solve, I don't have them because I use 10 pound braid almost all my BFS setups, and it just doesn't, it's not an issue. It doesn't jump in when I have backlashes. It's never, it just doesn't get in there. But I understand it is an issue, and I don't want it to happen just at the least, when I least expect it, and then I'm like, the reel's jacked up or it cut into my braid and all that kind of stuff, because these edges get kind of sharp. If something gets in there, it's definitely weakening your line. So the only actual issue that I got to fix is that, because I do have an issue. If I can't just, I don't want any reel that I'm sitting there got to constantly mess with in order to make it work right. So I got to fix that issue. I'm trying to fix the brake issue, and then I don't know about the whole line issue. That's why, if you don't want an issue and you don't own a Black Knight 2, like I own, well, shortly we'll have 2, and a Dark Wolf Ultra. Here's one I do recommend right here. If I talked about this guy before, I start loving this guy more and more every day. Oh, look at you, you cute little 7.3 to 1 thing, you. I've got the other, I've got 3 versions coming. I actually went ahead and bought the green one. I don't know if I told you guys that or not. And that's the stupidest name. They come up with these names. Turquoise Fox. It's friggin' green. But anyway, I plan on using the frame and using it, possibly the spool, and use it on, like, basically I'm going to end up with what I hope is a cool looking reel, and then probably like another Frankenstein looking reel. And then I'm going to take that one and probably use it, with because it comes, I think, with 2 spools, and maybe just turn it into one of my regular reels, not a BFS. Then I also have a red one coming But I think what's funky about it is this side is shiny like the lingle, but I think the other side's like black or darker. It's not the same. Then I also got another one coming that looks like it's all black. It almost looks like a dead ringer for an actual steez. So I got those coming. I got a lot of stuff going on. And all the while, I'm sitting here wishing I could be out fishing with my golden mud carp. It's upside down, but read it. Read it and weep. Did anybody ever buy any one of these? I can't even get it to focus that way. This is still a rod that I may buy one just so I'll have one because Noah has taken over this one. Golden mud carp. This is just a good rod. I know it looks funky. I've only fished it like 2 days, but I'll be honest, I'll be there fishing with the Zephyr and I'm like, I don't know. I just might just soon have the golden mud carp. All right, guys, 41 minutes. Anybody else comment? Stay tuned. Tomorrow, it's the final countdown. I want somebody to play that song. I can't because, again, I can't monetize the video, but I want the final countdown, Europe. I want that playing when I get this thing out there and see what it does. And I will have it done tomorrow, for sure. I may go ahead and... Oh, I didn't show you guys. You guys didn't remind me. Oh, you know what? Oh, I just had that jacking around. I about lost that spring. I wasn't even paying attention. That little spring's still right there. But come here. Come here, little buddy. Get off there. The little spring. Oh, he's stuck on there. Maybe it's got a little keeper thing. I didn't pay attention earlier. Well, it don't want to come off now. There it goes. Do not lose these little springs. I'm kind of curious. I don't know what it would do without them. I would think it would have a heavier braking feel, if anything. Because if these pop up, it gives you more brakes, and there's no spring there. I don't know. Is it that simple? Just take the springs out like that, and it'll give you more braking throughout the cast, and therefore you won't backlash. Nah, it can't be simple. So here, I'm going to show you all I've done, and there are holes all the way through. Even this one right here that looks like it might not have a hole, there's a hole there. So I'm going to try to time it, and I could almost swear that you can see the glue bubbling around it, but I just light my lighter and I hold that pretty close. And I'm trying to look around the camera. And you can, just hold it for a while, try it if that wasn't enough. Don't be afraid to, heat it, try it. Didn't work. It's still holding on to some of those freaking magnets. I'm telling you guys, these magnets are going to be the death of me. And I would imagine you can get by if you had a hairdryer. Heat gun would even be better. Well, I think I'm camera shy. Hang on. And I don't really time it. I just kind of... If it starts smoking, you probably went too far, too long. This is pretty hard plastic. I don't think you're just going to melt it. It doesn't melt like butter or nothing. Well, as you can tell, I'm not holding it long enough. And I just do one at a time. One at a time. And this one's been the hardest one. I did not have this hard a time with the other ones. I think I'm just... There we go. Do you guys see smoke? I thought I saw smoke. What is that doing on there? Get off there. Well, I might have waited too long. I can't find the hole. Oh my Here, let me move everything that's magnetic out of the way. It's going to come this time. I'm telling you. This time, if I can hit the hole, push, get out of there. That sucker. They really glued. They really got some good glue on this one. That's got to be enough. That sucker. Well, let's try this one. How hot is it? I guess I'm just not getting it hot enough. It's not hot. Doesn't feel hot. The lighter's way hotter. I think it's because I'm trying to record it. I'm not holding it close enough. There we go. Yeah, I just wasn't close enough. And you can see I'm touching it. Like I'm not getting it, you know, it's not red hot. It's just getting hot. That glue doesn't take a ton. Like the lighter's way hotter than it is. This tip of that lighter's pretty hot. So I recommend once you start, keep going because you've already heated up. You've already got the process started. That's burning my fingers. Come on. You guys weren't that. Ooh, ooh, that burned. That burned, that burned. Well, why? Struggling this time, I don't know. There we go. 2 out. So, and it doesn't like you can, they're all the same magnets. It's not like these from this one need to be separate from the other ones. They're all just 4x1 and 1.5 millimeter magnets. Ooh, that's burning. What's that smell? Is that flesh burning? I tell you don't try this at home, but yeah, go ahead. Try it at home. Try it at home. See if you can get the magnets out. All right, let me switch. Let me switch my fingers around. Let's burn this side of the fingers. I was just going to show you one, but once we got started, no need to stop now, right? I can swear you can almost see like a bubbling coming from the... Yeah. I just wasn't holding it close enough, long enough. It's pretty simple once you get the hang of it, which I should have already had. Ow, ooh, ooh, that lighter. The lighter's hot. Lighter's smoking. Oh, my finger's hot that time. And there we go. All right, see there? Still intact. It's not hot. Magnets aren't. It's warm, but it's not like burn your fingers hot. The lighter gets very hot. If you're using a lighter, That I don't want to touch. That's probably hot. So we got them all out. I just got to go through the process of gluing them all back in, not as far in as they were. So I'm going to do that later. Got our springs still. Thanks for watching, guys. 50 minutes in. Ah, it's a record. Look at that. We're going to cast a trout magnet tomorrow. We're going to, as long as I don't lose anything, get it back together. We'll probably cast the trout magnet, which is this dude here, to see how well it does with the trout magnet. This dude again. I'll put the 2-pound line on just because. And then possibility, I'll put that, I threw that thick line away. That line was junk in the first place, but. And yes, this with the little snap thing still isn't quite a gram. This thing's chewed off enough. That little bitty snap's what I'll be using. And we'll see, hopefully we'll get this brake dial. I don't need that on there right now. We'll be able to adjust these brakes. Wouldn't it be a miracle if we could have these brakes down in, say, I don't know, somewhere between 1, 2, no more than 3. Wouldn't that be awesome? Oh boy. Oh boy. Yes, Virginia, there's a Santa Claus. No, it's not Miracle on 54th Street. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to tomorrow. Showdown in the lowdown and a hoedown. The lingle is about to go down because the Black Knight 2 is going to take back over as the leader. Right? No, Lingle's still the best. Lingle is the best until you get into mucho money. He's not half the real he used to be. Then there's no competition with this guy. And I actually like this spool. If you guys don't know the deal, I probably got line going everywhere. I like this spool better than the original, the stock spool, just for the fact that I feel I can cast like without changing the setting, because that thing sucks. Like I can be cast just fine, it's set perfect, and I can cast into the wind without it backlashing near as bad. I may occasionally get one, but with any reel, you know, you get a bait caster set right. You're getting max distance, it's working, man, and you're casting and you're throwing, and then you turn to your left and you throw, and then you turn to your right and the wind's coming at you at like 5 miles an hour, but you're a moron, so you cast anyway, and then like you get a backlash. And you're like, oh man, why'd that backlash? Well, it's because of wind. 5 mile an hour difference, right? This is less likely to have as bad or be a backlash at all, in my mind, the way it feels compared to the stock. And that's why I like and actually recommend the chameleon spool over the stock spool. If you fish with 10-pound braid, which I do. If you're using the max capacity, no, this chameleon spool, I believe, yeah, I think it'll hold the same amount as a stock spool. I don't know, I recommend it. And it looks way cooler. But even beyond the it looks way cooler factor, which it does look way cooler, is I think it does have better performance. But I also, let me try to take it out for you guys. I went through the process, and it was a hard process. I put the stock Shimano spool back on it. I do not like that one that it comes with. Noisier, louder, funkier. I don't like it. I put the stock spool back on. Spool bearing, and I did go ahead and put the other one on here because I do at some point maybe I want to rig this one up. So that's the one that when you get the DIY spool comes with that one. I switched them around. I like it way better. There's something special about the Shimano bearings. I will give Shimano that. Them little bitty suckers, wherever it is. Them little bitty guys that are invisible. Look, you can't even see it. They just, I think they are part of, along with the FTB, just that, you know, along with this big line guide, just all that together is what just make this like it's an all-around. Yes, it can be beat, but for an all-around casting machine, it's hard to beat that reel. but it's at least 300, 350, 380, whatever to get it close to with that spool. This guy, right out of the box, $74 probably if you find it on sale, 75, no more than 80 bucks. It's hard to beat. And as I'll get out of here before the hour's up, what I like about the Aldebaran and this reel is right there close with it is just the range you can go before you have to readjust and mess with that. And thankfully, because they both suck at the adjustments, this is a little better than Aldebaran. But what I can do with this is I can go out and I can kind of finesse, throw lightly, light baits, set right there where it's at, and it works fine. Then I can hook on a 1/4 ounce, say, I don't know, 1/4 ounce rattle trap and put some power, and I mean cast it hard, and you'll hear the bearings when you had, like when I had the, I did put the ceramics in it, like it'll make them scream, but it like there's no backlashing. I don't know, just it's just an all around awesome caster for BFS. Anyway, I gotta go, guys. The boys are here. They got they look. What do you guys want? Tell everybody bye. Where'd you get that tape measure at?
It was in Javier's thing.
I had to go buy this cheap dollar one, and they come up with this high-tech Stanley 16
Fallout
footer.
360.
What do you got? No, we ain't buying no games. Anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Kids are robbing me of stuff. They probably got the blow dryer in their room. Thanks for watching. Gotta go. Less than an hour. I'm on a roll.
See ya.